Much for joining me. It's Jen here from tarotspirit.net, and I'm doing your December 2017 monthly tarot reading. And I'm using the Druid craft deck today. My Celestite just caught my eye. I just love crystals. And I'm not one of those people that thinks, if I have cancer, I'm going to just, I'm not going to have treatment. I'm just going to put a crystal on me. But I like the idea of them, of tangibly, like I have smoky quartz at work. So if I get a little stressed, like just holding it and breathing and saying, okay, this symbolizes, this is rose quartz, obviously, symbolizes releasing stress. And it just helps me to focus my intentions. And so I really like that. And they're just pretty. They're pretty. Okay, sorry, that was a little random aside. Let's pull some cards, shall we? Okay, so at the bottom of the deck is the Six of Swords. And I decided, I do read reversals. I just don't reverse the cards. I just sort of feel the energy and whether it's, what meaning of the card comes out. But I decided just to keep them however they came out. I don't know why. I'm just to be consistent because they did it in one reading. But the Six of Swords, so the fact that this is coming is reversed at the bottom of the deck, to me it means it's like it's time to move away from something that is mentally taxing and emotionally stressful and no longer serving you. It's time. We can't control other people. We can't control. We have really a limited amount of control on situations, except for ourselves. And what can we do if we can't change a situation? I mean, there has to come a time where you're like, okay, I've put enough time and energy into this. It's killing me. It's exhausting me. It's making me pissy at home with my family, or maybe it is your significant other, like where I need to remove myself from this situation. So it's kind of like being in the reverse. It's sort of a wake-up call that you've done enough. It's almost like I'm almost feeling like the Eight of Swords, like you're in denial about something. And right after that was the Sun. So it's shining light on something. No longer there being the elephant in the room. Like, oh my God, if you hate this job, get a new one. Like, it's probably what your friends are like, are annoyed with you. They're just like, where you start complaining or talking about something and their eyes sort of glaze over. You don't even talk to them anymore because they just don't want to hear it. And maybe even you feel unsupported at this point. That's sort of a little bit of a hint to you what you need to deal with, where everyone else is just like, oh my God, dump him, dump her, like get a new job. Like why? But you've maybe gotten into a bad habit of complaining about it, or you're just sort of tolerating it. And right smack in the middle is this Four of Pentacles. And so this is about someone who is so materialistic and so focused on things. Petty things is the best way to put it. They're things. They're themselves. They're selfish. They only think about what they have and superficial things to the point they exclude really important things like relationships and people in their lives because they're so focused on themselves and what they have. But you can expand that to being a card about boundaries. So this month, it's really important for you to look at boundaries, where they're too weak, where they're too strong, whether someone's respecting your boundaries, if you're actually communicating them in the first place, whether you're respecting other people's boundaries. And that's a huge thing. I think I threw a video on my Facebook page. I don't do a whole lot on my Facebook page, but if you look down below in the info below, there's a link to it where it was about setting boundaries. And it's a very difficult thing to do because it's usually the people that have the strongest boundaries themselves that tend to completely disregard other people's boundaries. You know those people. So it's really hard to set boundaries. And you know what? You may need to let them go. You may need to say, you know what? They don't respect me, but I respect myself enough to move on. And that's with this lady in reverse. I mean, she's very confident. She lives authentically. She's been coming out for almost every reading so far. I think you're the fifth one I've done. And she's like, I'm living unapologetically, authentically. And if you don't like it, you can suck it. And it's not that she's selfish. She isn't selfish. She isn't afraid to live authentically regardless of what other people think, and she stands on her own, and only those people that respect that, and she respects others. She's focused on herself in a positive non yeah, because she's focused on living authentically, not worrying about things, and keeping their car clean, and saving their money to the fault that they always have other people pay, or they don't do things because even if they could spend some money, like it becomes almost like OCD, and it becomes unhealthy. She's not unhealthy. She's like, I'm living authentically, and if you don't like that, then you don't get to be in my life. I'm stand on my own, and I'm confident on my own, and I'm not going to tolerate negative, bad behaviors because I feel insecure and that I need someone. And wow, the strength card. And it takes an enormous amount of strength and courage and confidence to live authentically. And most of us don't, and I put myself in that category because we're so worried about what other people think and all these things we were taught growing up. And there is that fine balance between what is dealing with different personalities and dealing with things that are unacceptable. I think more often than not, people tolerate things they shouldn't. And, um, it's, and then you think about, oh, well, people are going to think, oh, I can't keep a relationship. It's like, no, I haven't found the right person yet. There are tons of great people out there, but just two good people don't necessarily make a match. So it's having the strength and confidence to not settle, to be able to stand on your own, and to wait for the right things to come into your life, the right relationships, the right um, the right jobs, the right friendships, the right situations. Um, and often that means, though, you have to move on. You have to, you can't tolerate um, things that don't serve that goal, that don't serve that purpose. And finding that what you love, what feeds your soul, what when you're doing it, you're so incredibly present that you don't even, it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like you can't wait to do it. You can't wait to spend time on it. And everything else melts away. I get this way when I'm gardening, when I'm in the barn, when I'm riding, things I'm not worrying about other things because I'm so happy living authentically in that moment of what I love to do. When you're able to, there is a theme of, even if you're like, oh, I'm in a relationship, Jen, this has not a goddamn thing to do with me. Well, so let's be flexible about this. This is a general reading. So are you able to stand on your own within your relationship? And again, that takes a balance. Or do you, like I have a friend that likes tarot cards, but she never lets her husband see it, see them. I mean, they've been together for a long time. It's kind of like, well, why are you in a relationship where you don't feel like you can live authentically and read some tarot cards? Like, so are you ashamed of it? Is this person so controlling that you're worried? Like, why? Like, that's something to examine, right? Um, Are they gonna, every time you want to do something, they're like, oh, that's going to cost too much. I want to join a gym. I want to start taking, oh, it's going to cost too much. It's going to cost too much. Meanwhile, they go out and buy a motorcycle. That happened to me. Um, it, you know what I'm saying? So you have to look at things like that and have the strength of character to say, you know what? That's not cool. And bye-bye. Or we need to have not bye-bye. But hey, we need to have a conversation about this. You're not supporting me, and this isn't fair. And sometimes people don't want to have those types of conversations because it could ruin the relationship. But boy, if that type of conversation ruins a relationship, that's very telling, right? And a lot of people don't want to deal with that. It's kind of interesting. In this deck, there are two people in this boat, and often it's a mother and a child. So I think it's interesting that there are two people. And it's like finding that person who wants to go on that journey with you, who isn't interested in, who's supportive and has the same values, will be supportive of you the same way, that won't burden you with their crap. And you don't feel like you have to take it on. You're both able to stand together. For some of you, you need to stop tolerating bad behavior from a relative. Or you inherited codependency from a family legacy. Or maybe your family is pretty controlling and isn't supportive of you. So that's part of growing up, and it's really, really tough. Thankfully, I have extremely supportive family, but it's your life. You know what I mean? You only get one shot at it. And it can be, having worked in oncology for 17 years, it can be taken away at any time. And I don't mean that in a scary way. I mean that in a motivating way. Like and I just saw 12-12, like what's stopping you? Time to go, time to stand on your own and move forward. And the Page of Pentacles is maybe it was reversed, telling yourself like that dream, that goal, that whatever, it's too much, it's too expensive, so some of you actually may be the super cheap person. So be careful that you somehow haven't had a situation where you're so I mean, if you're just really, money is really tight, it just may be that it's that way for a few years until you get your school debt paid down, or your house, whatever. But be careful that it's not a knee-jerk reaction where it's become unhealthy. Like you're so afraid to spend money. It's holding you back from living. And again, that's something to consider. Why am I like that? Why am I doing that? Is that healthy? Now, all of this, thinking about all of these things,